Greetings one and all. This video has taken me a while and it probably won't be of interest to many of you, but those who are interested might find it quite useful. And I needed to do the stuff anyway, so I thought I'd video it. Sound quality is just camera mics and not great, and video quality is difficult because I haven't got much room and not much light, and I get too close and it doesn't quite focus, but it's enough, I think, to be useful for people who want to do this kind of thing. It's to do with my two valve amps, which I had reason to start using. I wanted to use one of them, and hadn't used it for a while. Switched it on, noisy. I thought, well, I've got the other one. I switched that one on, noisy. So I thought, well, let me go through and do the things that I've done years ago and the things that are recommended in terms of cleaning, and I may as well video the process and show how it goes. So that's what it's about. It's taken me quite a while. If you're going to use these valve amps with a jack socket, they're high impedance and you'll need an impedance converter. I've done a video on that, so you can check it out. I use a really good quality one, obviously, because I want to keep things as clean as possible. That's about it. At the end, I'll tell you how it went, what the final outcome is, which I've already experienced because I'm doing this after, even though it's at the front of the video. And I used it on a gig, and I've just put a clip of that at the end. Okay, here we go. This on top here is a 1978 Fender PA100, which I use for playing keyboard with split bass and singing through as well, through a sizable cabinet that can handle the bass without any issues. I've been using my Bose Pro 8, Pro whatever it is, for the past year or so, or longer. But this was a louder gig and it needed a stronger bass, so I decided to use this, which hadn't been on for a while. Working fine last time I used it. Switched it on, let it warm up, just checking it, and it was noisy and crackly, and the reverb wasn't working. So I left it on for a while, several hours, to let the heat get right the way through, which takes a while because most of the heat comes from the valves over this side, and smaller valves there, but the power valves are on this side, and the transformers. So it needs to permeate through all this. But still, it was crackly and noisy, and the pots were noisy, and the reverb wasn't working. I've had experience of reverbs not working before with Fender amps, and it's to do with this kind of a contamination. So I thought, do I take it to a tech? I thought, no, let me do what over the years I've figured one ought to do, particularly if you don't use them for a while. And in the meantime, I got this one out, which is a 1973 one, which is a bit tatty. This one's pristine. And I thought, well, at least I've got this one. Hadn't been used for even longer, 3 or 4 years, if not more, actually. Switched it on, guess what? The same. So, this video then is to see if what I do helps you out at all before you send it to a tech. It's just simple stuff that everyone can do. Do be careful with mains voltages and so on, even when it's switched off and not plugged in, because as you probably know, the mains capacitors, filter capacitors, can store a charge and give you an electric shock. So don't mess if you don't know what you're doing, or you haven't got an idea what you're doing. This one then, I did my thing. Took it apart. I'm going to show you the stages of that on this one. Cleaned it all up, did what I wanted to do, put it back, switched it on, and lo and behold, it was fine. Left it on, it was fine. Took it to a smaller gig yesterday, it was fine. So these things, they don't seem to like being left. I think damp gets in and all sorts. Anyway, this one is yet to do. So I've switched it on and we'll see if we've got... Now I notice this one is nowhere near as noisy as it was the day before yesterday when I tried it out. And I left it on. So I think there's a kind of a drying out process that goes on. And, and they seem to sort themselves a bit. But anyway, I think this kind of cleaning that I'm doing should be done probably every year, couple of years, depending on how much you use it. So, turning up the master here, and that's okay. This is a reverb, which I probably won't use, but I'm going to turn this knob, and you can hear a bit of that, which actually gets better as I do it. So that crackle that you heard there was happening the whole time without any knobs being touched at all. Let's turn the reverb off. This one was very noisy, but now it's quieter, even though I haven't done anything. Just dried out and been used a bit, I think. Can't hear anything much there. Tones, nothing. Nothing much there. Turn that one down. Second channel. Little bit there, can you hear? That kind of thing was going on the whole time, but louder. Notice now it's stopped. I've wiggled this a bit. There's a little bit again. So as I say, that was happening even without touching it. So not usable really, be able to hear it on a gig. This one, channel 3. Just a tiny bit. Okay. Little bit there. Finally, channel 4. Very quiet. Okay, so it's heated up a bit now, about an hour and a half, and you can hear what's going on, I hope. Just going to put it down by the speaker. Yup, and it tends to get worse as it gets hotter. I'm going to begin, and the first thing I need to do is remove this chassis from the case, the cabinet. So take the back panel off, and then there are 3 screws here which need to come out, and then you can't see, but there's 4 screws, 2 on either side at the top, and when you undo those it lowers the chassis. I take the strain off by putting my hand up here, and then it rests on some wooden blocks. You can probably see these are the wooden blocks here, so when I take these screws out, it will rest on these. And then, here's my suggestion. This is quite heavy, as you can imagine. So what I do is, there's an output transformer and there's a mains transformer. So obviously this isn't symmetrical in terms of weight. Most of the weight is here. So if I then lift up on these and inch it back, once I've removed the screws there, that's one way of getting it out. You might want to remove the valves, because obviously if you're a bit clumsy, you can break those off and damage them. The other thing I've found with some of these amps is that let's remove this, that you can turn it on its side, and that makes this part of it, can make it a little bit easier. So if I do this, then you can again bring it out this way, wiggle it backwards and forwards and slide the thing out. That might be easier, I don't know. You might not be able to see, but this says 200 watts, 117 volts, 60 hertz, and you can see there's a ground switch which has been plugged, so it's been removed, it's no longer there. I'll tell you why that is when we have a look inside. I've removed the chassis, and inside the cabinet case you can see this is a reverb bag. There's a screw there and there's a screw there, so I'm going to take that out because I'm going to clean this end of it, and also I'll show you later once I've done that. These I've found to be particularly tricky, they tend to get, you can kind of see this kind of contamination builds up, and that can be problematic. And certainly when I cleaned them, the other amp, everything was working fine. So that's to come later. Here's the chassis removed, and I'll just show you around. I hope the lighting's not very good. I haven't got much room either. but maybe you can see inside there. So that's a electrolytic capacitor which I changed. You see that's one there as I changed, that's one there that I changed, and then there's the major ones underneath. Is that it? Or a little one here? This is under the cover. Actually that I said was a reverb transformer. I don't think so. I think that's the reverb transformer there, the small one. But this is under the cover. I replaced these carefully. So I changed that when I got it. I bought this from on eBay from a Amp Tech. Had no valves in it. He'd put valves in, spare ones, and tested it. I trusted him. Seemed, I went round to pick it up as well, so I saw the guy in his workshop. And he'd sort of thought, well, it's not worth his time. He's not going to be able to sell this for much. It's a PA 100, blah, blah, blah. He noticed, he did say, as he was looking over it, that this seems to have been changed. This is the mains transformer. And he said he couldn't see any reason why any other damage, because often if that's got to be changed, it's possibly taken something else out. These are odd looking things, aren't they? I think they're in, what are they called? They're solid state I think they're rectifiers. Very odd. And I don't know if they're original. They don't look it. Sorry about the washing machine. In fact, let me put it on pause. This said, I was rather pleased with myself because I noticed on YouTube, not on YouTube, on eBay on the photographs, that this is American. You can see from the back, and there's the ground switch thing that's been plugged behind the light there. So I thought, I said to him, I think it's been changed to make it UK compatible without having to use a transformer. And he said, yes, I think you're right. That's what's happened. So I was quite pleased about that. Looking in, what am I going to do then? Let me show you. First thing I'm going to do is spray the pots, if I can get to see them. You've seen this before perhaps. Very crowded, but you can see I can get in there. Can't even see where I am. Where I am, sorry. You can get in there. Get in the top there on that one. You see there's two other pots down there. Right down. That's easy enough in there. It's very difficult to do this and point and hold the camera at the same time. And the two down there. So there's 12 to do. You can see more easily at this end here what's got to go on. You can see I'll be spraying in there, he says, and there. So the others are like that. Luckily, I'm sure it's deliberate, they're all facing this way up. You can imagine if the gap was underneath, you'd have a problem. And the difficulty I find with printed circuit board ones is that these are all attached to the circuit board, and if you can't get to them like this, you have to take the whole circuit board out on all the knobs with all their nuts. You have to remove everything, probably those as well, everything, in order to slide the circuit board back and turn it over to get at it. So, whew. Anyway, what else am I going to do? That's a pot for hum balance. May as well clean it. I'm only going to do this once. All the sockets here, look at how substantial these are. I mean, they really made these things. These are the outputs for the jacks, solid as anything. But nonetheless, I'm going to clean that just with the cotton swabs and denatured alcohol. I'm going to spray in here. These are, and into the actual switch itself, a bit haphazard, and I don't know if that goes anywhere, but I'll give it a blast because I have had issues with these switches sparking and stuff, and they get dirty as well. Talking of dirt, look at this pot which I'm going to spray. This one I've marked it so I know where it is, because I think it's something to do with the bias. I'm not sure what it is, but I've marked it with a black felt so I can spray and twist it and then set it back to where it was. But I don't know if you'll be able to see if I rub here. Don't know if you can see though. Where's my finger? Don't know if you can see any grime on there. So that light coating of oily-ish stuff with just stuff attached to it. Thus, this not so much because it's new. All that will be everywhere, of course. It's 50 years old. So it's been moisture dried, got hot. This waxy stuff here, it's probably given off some sort of vapour and then it's dried. And so it's going to be on all the pots and everything. So that's why I think every now and then it's, just clean the lot. You can see it's not rocket science, it's going to take a while. I think that's about it. So I bought it from a guy on eBay. He was a tech. I fitted valves. I had preamp valves lying around, and I bought some power amp valves. So I took it to another tech to have it biased, and I said, it seems to be a little bit noisy, and he said, well, I'll have a look at that. And he went and did all this, which I think was a bit unnecessary, really. So you can see these brighter white wires here, they've all been replaced by him, and they're shielded, rather than just being the straight wires as they were before. It's got a shielding around it, which he's earthed to the chassis somewhere. Up there, somewhere you can probably see underneath, there's, if I can get the pen, I can never, because I'm on wide angle. He's earthed it to the chassis. Well, doesn't seem any quieter to me. That's a fair bit of work he's done. It's all very neat, so no problems. You can see there, if I can focus again, what he's done, he's shielded, he's put the shielding, changed all that, all these wires. These other wires, the slightly dirtier ones, are original, but the brighter white ones are what he did, which I didn't ask him to do, but luckily he doesn't, often leave things alone. But anyway, and these I don't think are original either. These bright green, they could be, but I don't think so. I've never seen that before. Actually, somebody's burnt that one a bit. Well, basically, and tighten everything. Anything that looks like it could do with tightening. If it's tight, don't force it, because you might break a connection, if you know what I'm saying, like this one here. But just if it's loose, then tighten it, and actually check all the pots as well, because I think there's a certain amount of earthing goes on with the pots to the chassis. So one guy I was watching on YouTube suggested taking all these knobs off, getting a 1/2 inch on them, loosening them, and then to make sure that that connection there is secure. But I'm not going to do that because there's 12 of them. So my suggestion would just be, I don't think there's any point spraying them either, because if they're tight, I don't think the spray's going to do anything. So that's spraying there, spraying the where it meets the chassis. I'm going to spray in there, obviously, a wiper. So I don't think I'll be doing that because there's 12 to do, and but I will find out whether they're loose. One on the other that I did, the 1978 one of these I've got, this was loose. So obviously I sprayed then and tightened it up, and also something at the back there was loose. So basically you get the idea. Spray everything that could reasonably be sprayed, clean every socket and input and output, and check everything is secure and tight. Yep, that's all right. And then I'm going to turn it over after I've done that, and deal with the valves on the other side. This is what I'll be using. This is the tools you might need, I find useful. A bit dark, I'm afraid. So I've got obviously cotton buds. That's spray cleaner. I've also got it in a bottle of not spray, just where I can dip it in on a cotton bud. It's probably less expensive than keep spraying things. That's the spray one with lubricant. So on the pots, I use the spray one first, because I feel I can use that liberally, because it evaporates and leaves no residue, supposedly. This one cleans, but also leaves a slight lubricating residue. So I don't want too much of that slopping around. So I do the thorough cleaning with this, and then just give a quickish squirt with this one, just really to leave some lubricant on the pots so they turn freely. This is quite useful. It's a fiberglass brush, propelling pencil type thing, so it just scratches the surface of something. If it's got oxidization, can scratch it. This is just a bit of emery cloth, wet and dry paper, very fine, so I can roll that up and put it within the sockets if I feel I want to clean in the sockets. Pipe cleaners I find very useful, and obviously just screwdrivers, and that's about it. What I'm going to do in the next part of the video, I'll just show you the spraying process of one pot, and obviously all the others I do the same way. This is one of the tools that I missed. Now, what it is a pipe cleaner. If it'll focus, it'll probably focus on me, so I'll hold it here. If you can see, it's a pipe cleaner. If you know what such things are for cleaning pipes that people used to smoke, they still do. And I burnt this flock material off to leave just the metal. Reason being that in doing the fine pins on the preamp valves, this won't really fit in, and you don't want to force it because you're going to leave bits of stuff there, and also you might force the pins apart because they're kind of like that, and you can squeeze them together, but you can retension them. But be careful if you do that, you can crush them. But you don't want to push them apart for sure. So by doing this, you've got this metal kind of braid almost, and this easily fits in, so you can put put your spray cleaner in and kind of use this just to scrape gently, just to roughen the surface in case there's anything contaminant there, and then spray again and so on. So that's what I use for that. It's very difficult to find something fine enough. Okay, I've had to switch over to a GoPro because I just can't get the right position with the others. So here I've found a gap. Hope you can see. In here I'm using the switch cleaner. I can find that gap in the back of the casing there on this volume pot, and I can feel it when I do that, so I'm going to and then maybe over here. Unfortunately this thing is leaking. I mean, so if you haven't got enough issues really without stuff not working properly, but anyway. So let's get it in there. I figured that should do me. What I'm going to do then, work it back and forwards a bit, do the other 12, the other 11, and then come back through, which I shall do just on this one now. Once I've done all these, I'm going to come back through, get in a good place again, and just give a quick spray with the, that's the lubricating. So as far as I'm concerned, that's that one done, but we've got another 11 to go. So that's how I do that. Okay, I'm on the GoPro, everything done, sprayed and cleaned, pots here. All of this, sprayed the switches there. I could see, where's my finger, that you won't be able to see, sorry about the flare, but those I did spray in there, and as I moved them back and forth, the switches, they're feeling better. I could see the liquid being kicked out, so obviously they do go to the internals. I think that's it. I've cleaned here and here. I've cleaned most of the jack sockets as best I could, just because they get a bit dirty. But you know, jack sockets are pretty reliable. It's not like it's you know, a tiny surface area either. So what I'm left with is these two here, which I'm going to show you, which is the Reverb, sorry, in and out under there, and then that'll be this side of it done. This is what I do here. It's on the GoPro, so everything's quite wide angle. This is the glass fibre brush, which actually looks a bit dirty, right? It wears down. So I go around the outside. I don't know if you can see, probably can't, but there's like powder coming off. So these, to me, are quite a culprit for the Reverb not working. It seems, whatever they make this of, it seems to like to have a kind of contamination. That's not the right word, but that occurs. So I'm going to lift this up and go around the other side, and then I'll show you what I do for the inside. Okay, I've cleaned those all the way around and then used a cotton bud with isopropyl alcohol on it. And this is what I do. I don't know if you can see here, it's a bit of emery paper. So I've rolled it, because where the pin in the centre goes in has got even less surface area than this. Even this gets contaminated, but the pin in the centre, you know, it's got all the way around there to grip. The pin in the centre, not so much. So I make a pin out of emery cloth like this, and then I can use that in there and just wiggle it back in and out and backwards and forwards to clean that up. Same on the other side, of course. I use this photographic airbrush to blow out whatever might have come loose in there. It does actually go all the way through, so I can do it from the other side as well. And then finally, pipe cleaners dipped in isopropyl alcohol. I'll keep talking about alcohol, folks, sorry about that. And finally give that a wipe in there. Of course I'm going to clean the actual plugs on the cable. What I'm going to do with that, see this goes right the way through, that's good. What I'm going to do with that cable is test it first for continuity and shorts and stuff, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But you may as well, once it's all out, because you put it all back together and there's a problem with the cable, then you've got to take it all apart again. So see a little bit of dirt on there still. Okay, I think that's it. So I've got to turn it over, start on the valves. All this has been cleaned, all that's been sprayed. I cleaned the fuse, took it out, both ends of it, and the socket. Oh, I'm just going to do the dual light, even though it's working fine, just clean under there, why not, whilst I'm at it. I've pulled the valves out, ready for cleaning, and I noticed something. Don't know if you'll be able to see it. Don't know if it's significant, but can you see on this one, don't know if this will focus, seems to, there's some corrosion, something around that valve base pin. Now I can't get much light on this, I'm afraid, but I don't know if you can see there's a kind of waxy something, and this is around the one that was the base that I showed you in there that had some stuff on it. So I'm going to get rid of the waxy stuff in a moment, but I'll show you generally what I do. Going back to this first one, is take my glass fibre. I'm trying to do this looking at the screen, it's not so easy. Take my glass fibre brush and best I can all the way around, trying to keep it in the camera zone at a very funny angle. No, there's not much light either. I should just do this. Hopefully that's a bit better. So I do that around all the pins, best I can. Outside, this one's got some stuff on it. Go on the inside. Then blow it with my compressed air, not compressed air, this bit's flying off. And then I'm going to get my liquid and the pipe cleaner and moisten it and clean them like that. Then I'll have a go at the socket. Not the best angle, that in a sec, I'm afraid. But down into this socket then, I've cleaned the pins and used liquid as well, and they look good. These, difficult to get to, they're very fine, and I don't really want to, there's nothing I've got fine enough to get down there into each one of those without forcing them apart and leaving bits of lint. So this one looks pretty good, so what I'm going to do is use my spray, if you can see, and just spray into that. And then take the valve carefully. You don't want to bend the pins, got to be a little bit careful with this. Get it lined up, and then put the valve in, work it around, pull it out, back in, pull it out. Careful not to get it cross-threaded, as it were. I think that's as good as I can do. This one looks pretty clean anyway. And then I'll give it a final blow through in case it's loosened anything. Give the air. And I'll clean the pins once again, put it back in, and that's that. And I'll go through and do all the others. The big valves at the end, you can get this through the pipe cleaner with liquid and clean them that way as well. So that's perhaps more efficient, but you have to be a bit careful with these small ones. Anyway, they don't look too bad apart from that one. I'll let you know how I get on with that. Okay, I'm getting there, and no disasters that I'm aware of so far. All that's left is to clean these up. These are the Reverb Phonos, and you can see they go into this bag here. I've got to wash the bag because you can see, maybe, it's got some sort of not very nice stuff on. So I'm going to take the bag, the Reverb tray, out of the bag, which I'll show you in a moment, and then I'll wash the bag and then clean the other ends and the sockets on the Reverb tray, which I'll show you just now. This is the Accutronics spring reverb out of the bag. You can probably see there the leads, which I'm going to take off and clean. And you can probably see maybe that there's a kind of not corrosion, well, precipitation, something which happens a lot, I notice. It gets kind of furry or white, kind of. You see it very much on that one, I think, if I get closer. See around there. So I'm going to take these off, obviously clean that. I'm actually going to undo this fibre, those 4 screws, and I can get inside and clean inside there. I have found these reverbs to be a bit troublesome in that way. Well, quite a quick fix, but sometimes that's what's going on if the reverb just stops working. For those of you who are interested, that's what the tray is like inside. You can see it's suspended. There are the springs, and this is a bit I'm going to clean inside these 2 terminals here. Very fine wires, so I have to be careful. Sorry about the wacky angle. When I brushed it, the outside, a load of white powdery stuff came off. It's difficult. Where the contact is made, of course, is in there, which fits around the collar of the there's the inner one and the outer one. This one fits around the outside of the collar, so it's in there really that I want to make sure it's clean. So what I've done, I've used a rat tail file, which I can then get round on the inside here and clean, and then I'm going to use the lubricant as well. Not lubricant, you can see some more powdery stuff coming on. So yeah, I'm going to do that. You can see it there, and I don't think they need retentioning. They were quite tight, and then clean the inner ones. Well, they say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So let's see. It's got to a reasonable temperature. Turn the master up full, and that's pretty good. I've got the mic plugged into channel 1, which is turned down at the moment. Speaking into the mic, which is a SEMK. Here we go. This is the channel number 1. Oops, obviously I'm in a small space. Channel number 1. Channel number 1. Reverb. Reverb. The reverb. Reverb. There we go. Now, I take the treble and bass off, and you can hear what you've got left is really just mid-range there. Put the bass back in, and that's the bass back in, and then the treble back in, and we might get feedback. Treble back in, there we go. Now number 2 is noisy. Go to this is number 3. Number 3 is fine. Number 4 is fine. Number 2, however, number two, well, it's okay like that, because I'm not turning it up very high. But when I turn it up, if I switch the mic off here, now the mic's off and I turn it up, got some noise there. Not with any of the others. So, what's left? Well, first of all, I should say, having taken it apart and looked at it, the construction is, well, it's not Rolls-Royce, it's just so workmanlike and solid and built to last. Nothing fancy, but everything's solid. I'm very impressed. I mean, it's 50 years old. What's left then? Well, it's number 2. Let's have a listen again. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I mean, you can use it. I know I only need 2 channels, so I know to avoid number 2. But I will swap the valves from the other one, which is fine, one by one. The preamp valves, you can do it with it still switched on, to see if it's a valve causing that noise. Because usually with valve amps, one of the first things you look at, apart from the things I've done, but even maybe before that, you look at the valves, because they were a hodgepodge of valves which I just put in because I had them when I first had this, and it seemed to work fine. And I got bought new power amp valves. So that lot I don't know, the preamp valves. So luckily I've got the other one. I can swap them about and see if that makes any difference, and if it does with a particular valve, I can just buy a new one of those, and hopefully that'll be that. But as I say, it's on, the master's on, the preamps are down, but the master's on full, and it's way quieter than it was before. Okay, that's it. Was I successful then? Well, not quite. I used 1978, the newish, the pristine one, on a gig. If I leave it testing here, everything is stable in terms of hiss, so it feels quite trustworthy, not things that suddenly come and go, apart from one channel, channel 1, which actually I used on the gig and I didn't notice, because by the time there's background noise and stuff, it's not that bad. I'd be happy if it didn't do it at all, but it's a gentle kind of frying that comes and goes. But the other 3 channels are fine, so I only need 2. Piano in one, voice in the other. So kind of needs looking at, but I'm happy to use it and feel quite confident because the others are all very stable. Everything's very stable in terms of noises. The older one, the 1973, guess what? But would you believe it? Channel 2 this time has a similar noise to the other one on channel 1. Again, I've got 3 channels still, which are stable, so there we go. However, I think my plan is to take that one to a tech. So there's only really one thing, which I imagine it could be a valve. I have swapped the valves around. Didn't seem to make any difference, so I doubt it, but someone who's got more valves than I have, like a tech. Or maybe it's a component, but hopefully it'll be fairly easy to find because it does it reliably once it's hot, makes that noise, and when he puts his things on it or her, hopefully it'll be easy enough to find. So, as I say, reasonably successful in that I can use them confidently, and I'll take my time seeing if I can completely sort it, which I would like, obviously, eventually. So there we go. Hope this has been some use to some of you, somewhere, somehow, and I'll see you sometime.
If you go down to the river, bet you're gonna meet some people who